haven't. I actually just heard about the news. Tough loss for the NBA. Tough loss for Philadelphia, and everyone that's affected in his loss. Condolences to his family. But I just heard about the news. It's unfortunate.
Paul, keep right over here. You know, you've been in the league for a minute. How good do you think this team can be? Like, you know, they have you, they have some bench guys, and you also have Tyrese and Joel Embiid, 3 All-Stars. You know, what's your expectations with this team this season?
I think we'll be really good. I would be hopeful that we're one of the best teams in the NBA. Top 3 in the East for sure. But I mean, I think we should be able to compete for a championship. You know, you think of Joel being one of the best, if not the best big in the NBA. Tyrese being one of the young stars, up and coming, perennial all-stars in this league. But then you know, you have veteranship, you have leadership, you have guys that have been in meaningful games, meaningful playoff runs. It's a well-balanced group. So I do think we have high expectations of being one of the best teams and the last team standing.
Did that help you in regards to coming here, or were you always that way, like a giving player? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter about stats, because it's hard when you're the man to go somewhere else and you see somebody else getting shots and you got to do other things.
Yeah, I think great question. I think it's just the nature of the game, right? Like, for a young guy coming into the league, I think being placed in Indiana, you want to define and figure out who you are in the NBA. And I always saw myself as being one of the best players in the league and wanting to be in that category. So initially, you know, I wanted it to be mine, right? Like, I wanted, in a selfish way of like pushing myself to be great, is I wanted the team to be mine. I wanted everything to fall on my shoulders. I wanted that pressure. I wanted to be compared to the guys that took over for their teams. But then going through it, having injuries and going up against a competitive and a well-balanced and superstar team in Miami, you can't do it alone. You know, you need star power, you need firepower. Not to say that I didn't have that in Indiana. But, you know, you do figure out that, like, all right, this is a challenge to win a championship, being a lone superstar. And so it wasn't taking the easy route, but it was just kind of understanding the landscape of where the league was going. And to where, you know, I felt that I did need help at that moment. I couldn't win the championship alone. And so the trade with Russ was first time realizing or first time being thrown into, like, playing off of another superstar and sharing the ball and sharing the workload, and then learning from that, you know what I mean, going into the next season, learning from that experience of what it's like playing alongside another star, to where I was to the point where, like, all right, now I'm with Kawhi, I know what it's like playing off someone else that's just as special and talented. So then work on all the little things, like what does it mean to win and do whatever it takes to win. Whether I'm the star or the 2 option. And I think it was just kind of just realizing that throughout my career of what that looks like.
Hey, Paul. Right. You guys, the players that Daryl added this offseason, you look at their ages, you know, you're 34, Eric's 35, Reggie's 34, Kyle already here at 38, Caleb 29.
We're old, I get it.
Well, from your experience in the league, how do you know whether a team is on the right side of the line of being too old versus being tough and experienced and the kind of team that knows how to win games when it really matters to win games?
Yeah. I mean, I think, we all have aged well. I still feel youthful. I still feel young. And I still feel I can play at a high level. I think the beauty in it is having the youth around us in KO and Caleb Martin, Tyrese. You need those engines as well. You need those young legs as well. So I think it's just a good mixture that we have here. We have the veterans that know how to win when it matters, but then you have the guys that can kind of get us to that point where we can kind of put our imprint, either it's late in games or late in the season. So I think it's just having that balance. I think you can't have too many on the older spectrum, and teams aren't ready to win on the younger spectrum. So I think we're kind of right in the middle of where you need to be to compete for a championship.
Hey, Paul, right in here in the middle. Mike Vorknoff with The Athletic. Kind of to what Keith was asking about earlier, but because you have been on teams with at least one other star player before, what have you learned from those experiences about how to assimilate to a new team, a new star teammate, and how to make sure everyone is happy and the fit is seamless, and not just on the court, but personality-wise, obviously there are egos in play. Like, what have you learned from that time that you're going to try to apply to Philadelphia that things go well?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate that the teams that I have played on with Russ, with Kawhi, they're pretty egoless in terms of team basketball and accepting other stars on the team. So I was very fortunate in that aspect to kind of grow and be around those guys. But I mean, the conversations with Joel coming here, conversations with Tyrese, we all want each other to be themselves. That's the only way this thing is going to work. I got to be Paul George, Joel's got to be Joel Embiid, Tyrese got to be Tyrese Maxey for this thing to work and for us to learn and figure out how to play amongst one another. So that was just the conversations to have.
Yeah, James Jackson, WIP. Paul, you've talked a little bit on your podcast and other forums about kind of the intensity and what it's like playing in the city of Philadelphia and for Sixers fans. Just wondering if you can expand on that a little bit. Your perspective as an opposing player coming here, what that was like, and how you think that's going to be like now wearing the Sixers colors, playing for this fan base and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't click until I got here and hearing how passionate the fans were. But then going back in those moments of playing against Philly and being in big games in Philly, that's kind of where I realized they are passionate and they love their team and they do ride for their city. Being on this side, I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to those encounters, having those moments, and being pushed. I think it's great to have that intensity and that passion behind the fan base, because it's coming from the right spot. Like, they want to win and win at all costs, and the only thing that matters is winning. And so that's how you should feel. I don't think they're doing anything out of the norm. They work and they pay their hard-earned money for those seats and their tickets, and all they want is just a good product out on the floor. So I think it's deserving. I think whatever comes from it is deserving.
Joel was just out here and he said that he's lost 25 or 30 pounds. He said, his goal was no agendas as far as NBA, all NBA. He just wants to win. Not that you need extra motivation, but does that even fuel you even more when you hear about what his dedication, what he's kind of doing to get ready for the season?
Yeah, I mean, he looks great. He looks slimmed down. But I think we all have our own motivation going into a season. It's great that everyone kind of has their own individual motivation. But we'll put all that together, and we'll have a common ground and a team motivation to go out and win. I think I haven't been here to really feel the magnificence of what it is to win in Philadelphia and how the fan base wants it. But from the little time that I've been here, you can tell the city is thirsty for it, and the city wants one. And so I think it's just great. Everyone across the board has the same goal of trying to win a championship. I've never won one yet, so that's always the motivation for me.
Thanks, Paul.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
We all city like the mayor.